Let the games begin and the voting. It is quarterback tier time courtesy of Mike Sando. Sando released his third annual NFL quarterback tier rankings consisting of 42 league insiders, general managers, coaches, coordinators, all weighing in, and evaluators were asked to place 33 quarterbacks in one of 5 tiers. So let me explain the criteria for you. Tier 1, can carry his team each week. Team wins because of him. Tier 2, can carry teams sometimes but not as consistently. 3, legit starter but needs heavy run game / defense to win. Might not want this guy. Tier 4 is might not want this guy starting all 16 games. And 5, do not think this guy should be starting. So here are the rankings, starting with a tie at the top tier. Number 1 there, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. The only other quarterback in the top tier is Big Ben. Now, not in the top tier, but first in tier 2 is reigning MVP Cam Newton. Other notables in the second tier are Russell Wilson at 6, Andrew Luck at 7, Eli Manning at 9, Carson Palmer is 10, and Tony Romo 11. Stephen A., that is a lot. Now that you've looked at that, or start with Max here.
Yep.
What's your biggest issue, Max, with this list?
And I got a lot of issues. But before I get to my biggest, let me just say I don't think Stafford belongs in tier 2. He has a big arm, but it hasn't really translated yet. Maybe that's an arm talent issue, as Trent Dilfer would say. Drew Brees in tier 2. One of the greatest quarterbacks ever. 5,000 yards basically every year, more or less. Leads the league in touchdowns sometimes. One of the greatest quarterbacks ever. He's a tier 1 quarterback. I love the fact that Roethlisberger's tier 1. He belongs there. Russell Wilson belongs in tier 1, especially the way he ended the year. I believe Andrew Luck will insert himself there this year to never fall out again, or at least not for a while. The most egregious problem here, Stephen A., Cam Newton in tier 2? Cam Newton in tier 2, whose offense, the best receiver was the tight end, and he was the best running back. Cam Newton in tier 2, responsible for way more touchdowns than anyone else in football. We're just talking facts here. 6 more than the second-place guy, who happens to be Tom Brady, who halfway through last year looked like a shoo-in for MVP. And then Cam Newton did what he did, and everyone said, okay, fine. Actually, Cam Newton may be supplanting Aaron Rodgers as the best player in the world. If you want, Stephen A., if you want to criticize Cam Newton, you have one legitimate criticism of Cam Newton that's possible. Because I don't want to hear about his arm or his decision-making. That's great. His pocket ability, his ability out of the pocket, that's great. His ability to inspire teammates, lead, all that stuff is great. I don't want to hear about not facing the press after a loss. What's that got to do with anything? Dabbing, what's that got to do with anything? Handing a football to a kid in the stands, is that a bad thing? You want to criticize Cam Newton, you got one legit criticism, and I have it of him. Cam, jump on that ball. That's it. It's the Super Bowl. If you come up, you've been stripped, so what? That can happen to anyone, especially the best defensive player maybe in the game. Von Miller strips you. Just jump on the ball and give yourself a chance. Don't jump away. That is the only legitimate criticism of Cam Newton that I can see. This guy, if he's not already the best player in the world, then it's Aaron Rodgers 1 and him 2. How he could possibly be considered a tier 2 quarterback when the criteria is can carry his team each week. I know they had a great defense. Don't give it. He won 15-1 last year. He didn't carry his team. This is insane. Cam Newton belongs in tier 1.
Max Kellerman, I totally agree with you about Drew Brees. I totally agree with you about Russell Wilson. They're tier 1. I totally get that. I'm with you on Matthew Stafford as well. Shouldn't even be tier 2 right now. I got some legitimate questions about him. I got news for you, though. Cam Newton is not tier 1.
Oh!
Cam Newton is not tier 1.
Really?
Cam Newton is not tier 1. Cam Newton is a superstar.
I'm shocked.
Listen up. Cam Newton is a superstar. Cam Newton can flat out ball. Cam Newton is going to be the best in the game. I understand he's the league MVP. When I'm measuring you as a quarterback, you got to give me more than 1 season. That's number 1. Number 2, total QBR last year, ranked 24th. What did he do last season en route to leading them to 15-1? He completed 59.8% of his passes, okay? We look at stuff like this. We get all of that. What I'm saying to you is that when you look at him, Carolina, they say Carolina allowed 32 points off 19 turnovers, good for a league low 1.7 points allowed per turnover. Okay, that had played a huge role in them starting off to a 14-0 start. The first 8 games, for Cam Newton, he was suspect. It was the last 8 games where he really came on strong. His athleticism can't be denied. We can't omit the absence of Kelvin Benjamin and act like that didn't play a role in some sense, some semblance of ineffectiveness. I am in no way questioning the greatness of Cam Newton. But when you tell me tier 1, it's not just about what you did. It's about what you've consistently done and how reliable you are. Tom Brady's tier 1. Ben Roethlisberger's tier 1. Aaron Rodgers is tier 1. I get that. Drew Brees is tier 1. Russell Wilson, even though he's leaned heavily on Seattle's defense because of how they've limited teams in terms of points, because they've led the league in points allowed since 2012, and Russell Wilson hasn't had to do but so much last year with a suspect offensive line, without Marshawn Lynch, with suspect wide receivers. I mean, it was like New England Patriots, Pacific Northwest, because those are the conditions that Tom Brady usually has to work under, and Russell Wilson showed pocket presence, pocket ability in terms of passing the ball in the pocket, how judicious he is in running the football, fourth quarter comebacks, all of these different things. I'm looking at Russell Westbrook now and the level of maturity he has. Russell Wilson. I keep saying Russell Westbrook. I'm sorry. Russell Wilson. The level of maturity he has, I believe Cam is en route there. I think that very well it could be cemented this season, if not by next season, that Cam Newton is going to be better than everybody. I'm not saying he doesn't have tier 1 talent, but tier 1 production.
Yes.
That's the second half of the season. And by the way, if we're looking at the totality of his career, let's keep in mind, okay, he had 12-4 season. The season before last year he was 7-8-1. This year he was this past season he was 15-1. It's up and down, up and down. When I think tier 1, you must give me more than 1 year.
This is not a lifetime achievement award.
No, it's not a lifetime. I never said lifetime achievement. But when you tell me right now, I can't just lean on what you did last season. I have to lean on what I've seen in terms of your body of work. I am saying to you, I have questions as to whether or not the greatness of Cam Newton that we saw in the second half of last season is something we're going to see this season. He's not going to fall off the map. He's not going to stink. Cam Newton is big time. But when you talk about Brady, when you talk about Rodgers, when you talk about Big Ben Roethlisberger, you weren't just talking about last season. You're not just
Clearly
talking about
not for Rodgers.
You're not just talking about now. You are talking about a body of work that allows you to lean on them and say, I can trust that my expectations of them will be met.
This is what we do.
You, Max Kellerman, cannot tell me, I'm not questioning Cam Newton's ability at all. You cannot tell me, as you sit right across from me now, that you absolutely positively trust that Cam Newton will do this season everything you saw last season. I think Brady will. I think Aaron Rodgers will. I think Big Ben Roethlisberger will. I think Drew Brees, even with that horrid defense.
You tell me when.
I'm telling you right now, you can't say you trust that you know that Cam Newton will duplicate that.
I trust that I know Cam Newton will duplicate that.
We'll find out.
If we are drafting a team right now,
I can trust it.
Let's exclude Aaron Rodgers because he's still.
I would draft Cam Newton, yes.
Cam Newton is only, based on what you're saying, body of work. That's why I still got Aaron Rodgers ahead of him. That, and he didn't jump on that damn ball. Otherwise, I'd already have Cam Newton. We're drafting teams right now, excluding Aaron Rodgers. I'm trying to win this year. I start with player 1 in the NFL-wide draft. Give me Cam Newton, 1, outside of Aaron Rodgers, right now in a draft. Stephen A., I said it in the beginning. Offensive touchdowns. Forget about it, because no one on defense scored more touchdowns. Touchdowns. The name of the game, touchdowns. He was responsible for throwing or running in 6 more touchdowns than the number 2 guy in the league, and that was Tom Brady in that offense. I mean, what more could he do? And it's not like he had a lot of great targets. He was a one-man band on offense. It was unbelievable. Let me tell you who Cam Newton is. This is for an old-timey reference, okay? Cam Newton is actually Mickey Mantle. When Mickey Mantle was coming up, one of the greatest baseball players of all time, everyone's like, oh, my God, this guy is going to be unbelievable. He showed it all as a young player, and he was good for a couple of years, didn't put it all together. All of a sudden, he wins the Triple Crown, and he's the best player in the world, and no one can believe it. That's Cam Newton. We saw the potential. It wasn't exactly like a straight line to the top. It was a little up and down first couple of years, and then he entered his physical prime this season or last season, and he has taken over the world of football. Cam Newton in Tier 2?
Not only is Cam Newton Tier 2, I just told you for a fact, let me say for the record, if you're drafting today, would I draft him ahead of Drew Brees today? Yes. Okay? I would not pick, I'm just talking about for right now. I would not pick Cam Newton. And by the way, I think I should take that back because I think Drew Brees is Tier 1. I just think that he hasn't had the support from the New Orleans Saints that he should have. Right now, I think Cam is great. I think Cam is going to be #1 probably in a year. But I'm telling you right now.
You're a year late.
Right now, I would pick Tom Brady over him. I would pick Ben Roethlisberger over him. Okay. I would pick Aaron Rodgers over everybody.
Yeah, me too.
Over Tom Brady?
Everybody.
Yeah, Aaron
That's crazy. He shouldn't be tied with Tom Brady. You guys missed
Aaron Rodgers #1.
I'm sorry, how long you been hosting the show? Hold on a minute. How long you been hosting the show?
About a year.
Okay, you trying to tell me you've heard me say that I would pick Tom Brady over Aaron Rodgers?
No, but I don't think they should be tied. Tom Brady's his own separate category.
What's up with the incredulous look and the histrionics and the shock and the awe? Like, when have you not heard me say I would pick Aaron Rodgers? Who is it I call a bad man? Yeah. Aaron Rodgers.
Not as good as Tom Brady, but
#1. Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, and dare I say, and it's a toss-up between him and Russell Wilson.
Okay, but Russell Wilson came on also at the end of last year. Amazing. He was playing the best quarterback during the regular season second half, I thought. Let me ask you a question. Did Tom Brady play in the NFL last year? Was he active last year?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Was Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
Drew Brees?
Yeah.
I'm just checking now.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson played, right?
Yeah.
Who won MVP?
Can I stop you right there?
Because they all played, and Cam Newton played too, and he won MVP.
Time out. You talking to the wrong dude, because what's the major sport that I cover?
Basketball.
I'm sorry, did Michael Jordan win the MVP every year?
He should have.
No, but did he?
No.
So, all right then. So your point is moot.
Okay.
Stop.
Okay.
The point that I'm trying to make
is, who deserved the MVP last year?
Cam Newton. Okay. Let me finish.
Okay. So it's not like Jordan. Jordan deserved it every year.
Jordan deserved it every year. Cam Newton deserved it last year. Got it last year. Jordan got it a few times. He deserved it every time.
Yeah.
My point to you is this: Shaq didn't get it one year. He deserved it.
Okay.
Steve Nash got it one year. He didn't deserve it. These things happen.
Your point is moot because you admit that Cam Newton deserved it.
No, what I'm saying is this. Cam Newton deserved it for last year. 1 year does not make you a Tier 1 quarterback.
Okay, let me ask you this.
One year.
If the
you going to dispute that? You're going to dispute that?
Let me ask you this. If the 25-year-old quarterback is coming off a season where he led by 6 in touchdowns the entire league,
right,
and he won, as you admit, rightfully the MVP,
right,
you like whose odds, if you're, doing the odds, whose odds do you like better?
Max,
the 26-year-old quarterback or the 40-year-old quarterback?
We have to go. Let me say this. Carolina had an elite defense.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, Tom Brady didn't have that. Big Ben Roethlisberger didn't have that. Aaron Rodgers damn sure didn't have that.
Stephen,
So my point to you is this. It's nothing wrong with me saying I would take one of those guys ahead of Cam Newton. Because Cam Newton is still evolving as a pocket passer. He's actually going to get better.
Pocket passer. Listen.
He's an excellent pocket passer.
Yes, he is.
You're on drugs.
Now,
that's ridiculous.
Now,
Cam Newton is a great pocket passer.
I'm going back to what you said.
World?
I'm going back to
He's good, but he ain't great a pocket passer.
But just because the Broncos shut him down, the Broncos can shut anyone down.
Please.
Now, wait a minute.
Go ahead.
You said you were exactly right. Cam Newton had an elite defense. Tom Brady didn't. Ben Roethlisberger didn't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not talking about the defense. I'm talking about the fact that he led the world in touchdowns. Touchdowns, that's offense by a lot. So the fact that you gave him a great defense made him 15-1 and put him in the Super Bowl.
That's right.
The criticism is jump on the ball. That's it.
Which is when his pocket presence became a liability. It doesn't matter. Let me tell you something. I think Aaron Rodgers would have handled it.
I think
Tom
Brady would have handled it.
He was missing one receiver.
So what?
And how was his season last year?
You know what? Because here's the deal.
What was
Carolina had a running running game.
Yeah.
They had Rough Riders. They had an elite defense. Aaron Rodgers had Aaron Rodgers, Randall Cobb, and Devontae. I mean, who the hell else?
Yeah.
What is
Brady
it?
had a lot of people, though.
Rodgers. I mean, who the hell was
Your
it?
point is that since Cam is playing on a team without as good an offense but a better defense, somehow that means that another quarterback who was less productive than him with better offensive weapons is somehow better than him.
They're not better offensive weapons, in my opinion. And I'm telling you this right now. I'm going to say it one last time. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Big Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, all would be picked ahead of Cam Newton for one season right now. Cam Newton is tier 2 approaching tier 1.
Save this.
Save it. So we go from an A-Rod that Stephen A. loves to an A-Rod he's a little suspect on. Alex Rodriguez wants to play, but the Yankees don't want him on the field. Whose side are these guys on? Don't miss the latest in the Alex Rodriguez saga. That is next.